Today we come to the third and fourth evidence for the divinity of Jesus. And they both come from the same delightful story. I loved this story as a child. 4 men came carrying a paralyzed man to Jesus. Since they could not get him to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof and they lowered the man down. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralyzed man, "Get up, take your mat and go home." He got up, took his mat and walked out. As a child, I used to imagine sitting in that house and bits and pieces falling from the roof. I always wondered who repaired the roof. And we had a very imaginative Sunday school teacher who said, how did Jesus know those friends had faith? Because they dropped the ropes. They weren't pulling him up again. Now in this passage, the phrase, "he said," comes up twice. The second of those two, he said to the man, "Get up, take your mat and go home." And the man was instantly, totally, and permanently healed. So it's not difficult to work out evidence number 3 for the divinity of Jesus, his authority over sickness. I heard it said that the healthy man has 1,000 desires, but the sick only one. What a moment for this man to meet the one person who could give him his one desire. Now some have said that all of us can be healed of all our sicknesses if we just have enough faith. Now, I'm not going to go into that now. If you go to my website and look under big questions, I do make an attempt to answer that question. But I just want to say this. I think that it's unkind, even cruel, to go to someone who's sick and say if you had enough faith, you would get well. It's all they can do from day to day to cope with their sickness and keep their faith. Wouldn't it be better to take the example here from Mark chapter 2? Jesus looked at the friends, and when he saw their faith, he healed the sick man. Wouldn't it be better to say to the sick person, "Don't you worry about it. I'll have faith for your healing"? That would be real friendship. Now, I said we would get 2 evidences out of the story, and we've only had 1. Well, of course, I left out half of the story, didn't I? Just look at this. He said to the paralyzed man, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Now, some teachers of the law thought to themselves, he's blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone? Jesus knew what they were thinking, and he said to them, which is easier, to say to a paralyzed man, "Your sins are forgiven," or to say, "Get up, take up your mat and walk"? But I want you to know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins. So he said to the man, "Get up, take your mat and go home." We come to the second use of the phrase "he said" in this passage. He said to the man, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Isn't it something that a man who's only 30 is calling this other grown man son? Such is the authority and maturity of Jesus. And just in brackets, some people have suggested that this man was paralyzed because of his sin. That's bad exegesis. The passage says nothing about that. And we would be in danger of making the mistake of Job's friends, who were so convinced that with all the trouble that had come on Job, he must have sinned somewhere. And they were wrong. Now, Jesus is involved in doing something else here. As soon as he says, "Your sins are forgiven," the teachers of the law instantly say he's blaspheming. Now, why did they say that so instantly? Now, the logic here is a little tricky, but it's profound. If I sinned against you, you could forgive me, and that would be very kind of you. But only you could forgive me. Imagine how you would feel if I said to Joe Soap over here, "Would you forgive me for what I did?" And imagine if he said, "Yes, I will." You would be deeply offended, because only the person sinned against can forgive. Now, all sin is against God. Therefore, God can forgive all sin. But when Jesus said, "Your sins are forgiven," the teachers of the law instantly said he's blaspheming. Who can forgive sin but God alone? He was claiming to be God. And so the fourth evidence of the divinity of Jesus is his authority to forgive sin. And so I leave you with this thought. The passage included "he said" twice. The first time to show his authority over sickness. The second time to show his authority over sin. If you were given the power either to forgive everyone's sin in the world or to heal every sickness in the world, which one would you choose?